I'm Casey Cosmo. This is my first video on my YouTube channel, the Astrology. I'm going to be doing many videos on astrology. My first video I want to do here is the differences between the tropical astrology and the sidereal astrology. Yeah, forgive me, my kid's laughing at me in the background. Anyway, so one thing to know is that there's actual differences. A lot of people have a problem with, what system to use, how it's functioning, what's better. There are two different systems. Tropical is a sun-based system, and the sidereal astrology is a moon-based system. This tropical is used more here in the Western world, and sidereal, or the Vedic system, is more used in the Eastern world. And there's a debate on whether or not which one is better, and it's not necessarily a question of which one is better. Both systems have a specific function and how they work with the vibrations of the universe. Like I said, one is sun-based, one is moon-based. The tropical system is based on the sun, and the sidereal system is based on the moon. It's important to know that there's actual differences, and you have to discern the proper differences between the two. Tropical astrology is electric, okay, whereas the sidereal astrology is chemical. The tropical astrology is electric. It's the electric impulsive nature in our personality, whereas it's a chemical nature in our with like the events and circumstances and situations in our life. It's more of a predictive. It's more of the chemicals that surround us through our electric impulses that govern our living being. That is our personality. Tropical astrology is energy. Sidereal astrology is a frequency. So this is our personal energy, and this is the personal frequency that comes at us through sidereal astrology. The frequency is, what it is that we are encountering in our life and what we are dealing with. What vibrations are being sent in our way, as a constant due to our own personal energy. And one thing to notice is that this system is based on the ecliptic and the seasons. The ecliptic and the season. The sun is responsible for all eclipsing. This is, I know you might say, well, what isn't the moon eclipse? But I'm not going to get into that right now. But the sun's path is upon the ecliptic, and the seasons, the 4 seasons. That's what this astrology is based on. The 4 seasons in the path along the ecliptic. Whereas the moon is based on the constellation, or the sidereal astrology, which is based on the moon, is based on the constellations and how we view the stars. So therefore, you can look and you'll see that the sun right now is in Aquarius in tropical astrology, but you'll look up and you'll see that the sun is in Capricorn, physically, visually. But that's due to the slippage. There's a 4-minute slippage every day that's been going on, that goes on, has been going on forever. But ever since we left the age of Aries, and now we're actually moving into the age of Pisces, out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, we are about 23.5 degrees off on the calculation. So most of the time you will see that whatever sign or planet that tropical astrology has, it will be in the sign before it in sidereal astrology. Not always, though. If it's in late degrees, anything like 23, 24 degrees and higher, it'll often be in the same sign as sidereal astrology. It would be in the earlier degrees in sidereal astrology. So it had to be in later degrees for them to be in the same sign. See, whereas, it's sun-based because, in tropical astrology, when the sun is out in the daytime, it's every other star is under the beams of the sun. You can't see stars when the sun is out. This is a sun-based system. However, you can see the moon sometimes when the sun is out. But when it's nighttime and the moon is out, you see all the stars. You see the constellations. This is why it's a moon-based system. The moon governs the night, lights up the night, and we see all the other stars. When the sun's out, it's eclipsing everything. It's on the path of the ecliptic. The tropical astrology is active. The sidereal astrology is reactive. The tropical astrology is our living spirit. Sidereal astrology is our feeling soul. Okay, so we live by tropical, or the sun, and we feel by sidereal, or the moon. It is a fixed system here. This is important. This is fixed, meaning that the 4 seasons and the path of the sun is always fixed. You may not see it visually and physically in the sky, but it's fixed in its motion due to the fact that when tropical astrology and sidereal astrology, when it's the age of Aries, they line up. So then you will see that during the age of Aries, or especially when it's at 0 degrees, and the age comes at 0 degrees Aries, you will see how everything is lining up. Tropical astrology, all the planets and signs are in the same sign as sidereal astrology. And they did line up back in the age of Aries. And this is how we know that the first sign where we start the zodiac is Aries, because it aligns this way through Aries, through Pisces, all the way down in order. And this is a fixed system. It's fixed. Like, to Aries, the second house will always be, a Taurus sector for Aries, and Gemini would always be the third house sector, whereas Leo, second house will always be a Virgo sector, and so on. This is fixed. You can't change it. The sidereal astrology is mutable. There's a 4-minute drift, 23 hours, 56 minutes in the sidereal system as a 24-hour day that we go by here based on tropical astrology. This is very important. The sidereal system is more, it's changeable. It moves, so with the 23-hour and 56-minute day, 4-minute slippage every day off the path of the ecliptic, there's changeability. So that adds up to be about 1 degree every 72 years. So that's 1 degree every 72 years that the sidereal system is moving away from the tropical ecliptic. Okay, and it's very important because this kind of shows us purpose and destiny, and also kind of like randomness and what how free will is up to us, because it's kind of like in Forrest Gump when he was talking to Jenny at her gravesite, and he was saying, is there really a destiny, or are we just floating on a breeze? And he said maybe it's both. Well, that's true, because these are both systems. This is a fixed purpose where everything already lines up in nature, where everything is always a system of 12 in perfect order from Aries to Pisces, and whatever sign that governs the first house down to the sign in the preceding order. So this is where everything is spiritual and fixed in nature, and this is where everything is chemical, mutable, and may even be a little more random in nature, where it doesn't have a fixed system, whereas the houses can kind of overlap, which I will talk about in a minute. Whereas I'm going to be talking about the whole sign house system, which, a house and a sign belong to each other, and that's it, from 0 to 29 degrees. But let me get to that in a minute. So yeah, tropical astrology is a cause, because it's you that's causing it. And then sidereal astrology is the effect, cause and effect. Our energy is causing the frequency. Our electric impulse is causing the chemicals in our life that surround us. So it's cause and effect. So this is natural. The tropical astrology is natural, because it's us. It's who we are. And sidereal astrology is influence. How are we being influenced by their sidereal chart? Is it influencing us through us as a nature, or is it influencing us in a different way that's getting ourselves off course? The whole point is to know thyself. And the problem is sometimes we react to these chemicals and our frequency too much, where we kind of lose sense of self, or we lose track of, like, people tend to respond to their environment more than they respond to themselves. And here, this is all about nature and the rhythms of the universe and the vibrations of life. And then this is just showing us how we react to nature, and how well influenced we are with it. Like, for example, someone who has a Cancer ascendant, it really depends on, in tropical astrology, if they have a Cancer ascendant, they can either be a loving, caring, motherly type that, still shows their cardinal sign leadership, bravely, and even if they're scared, because the rising sign does govern your attitude and behavior. And or you can use your Cancer ascendant as sometimes you're a little bit more cowardly and become uncomfortable easy, and you want to, crawl in your shell and, hide away and not, run away from the problems. Well, if you do that, then chances are you probably have a Gemini ascendant in sidereal astrology, and that might, if you were the one that was, running away from your problems, feeling uncomfortable, not wanting to deal with things, like sometimes Cancer can be, like, and they can be passive aggressive a little bit. If you have a Gemini, you'll have a Gemini ascendant over here, that this could cause a frequency to come in your life that distracts you and makes you constantly feel like you need to seek stimulation, or ignore the problems in your life, like ways Gemini can be. So that's how the fusion actually works, is that, you have a Cancer ascendant as your personality. How you use your personality is gonna predict how the frequency that's going to be thrown at you through sidereal astrology. So it's how you use your free will based on your personality and you, is how you're going to relate and be influenced by the sidereal chart. So it's good to know your sign, know who you are, know thyself. This is why I believe that if I was going to pick one system, it's tropical astrology, because everything is based on the sun and based on you doing it, bringing the sun is your conscience. There isn't a universe without a mind going into it, without consciousness. When you regain consciousness, you're talking about the sun. You regain sun. You regain this source of all life. Where the moon is more unconscious, subconscious. Asleep. It's the night. But to be actually alive, you can't be alive in the first place without the sun. And all the energy of you being alive, all that spiritual energy is collected through a soul that has been living, and everything that you've collected from moon energies. Okay. So yeah, this is personality, this is predictive. However, both systems can be used for, personality and predictive. It's just that one is more than the other. But they're interchangeable. But you'll see that the more you understand that, the more it makes sense. Once you master what the universe is throwing at you here, it's getting you to focus on you more and to know what you are doing, which is why tropical astrology, I believe, is the main system and the one that we come back to the most, who we are spiritually, our spiritual, natural selves. So this is why it's important to use a whole sign house system with tropical astrology. It's the oldest house system. If you guys are familiar with natal charts, you'll see that the Placidus system in modern astrology has been pretty much at default for all astrology charts, but I don't adhere to it. It was just used to make the midheaven and the MC and the IC axis to fall in a house without it being a floating point in the houses, which I'm going to also explain in just a bit. So what is whole sign house system? Well, whatever the degree of your ascendant, for example, like I have a 14 degree Leo ascendant. Regardless of the degree, I'm just going to use it as 0 degrees Leo, and it's going to occupy that whole house. The whole house is going to belong to Leo. Whereas the second house, you just go in order from the sign, is Virgo. And the third house is Libra. And the whole house is that sign. That sign lives in that house in a chart. So that's what the whole sign house system is. And that's why it's fixed. It's already fixed this way. Aries through Pisces. It's fixed. The order of the signs follows suit. It's fixed. It's not changeable. You can't fix it. It's the oldest house system there is. It's a whole sign house system. It's a sign house system. It rules nature. And it makes a lot more sense when you discern that this is who you are as your personality. Because sometimes, there's the way the house systems are, I kind of feel like they're using the whole sign house system for sidereal astrology in the East, especially in the Vedic system, and they're using Placidus or another house system in tropical when it should be the whole sign house system, and that those house systems like Placidus, or I say equal degree house system, should be used in sidereal astrology. So it's very important to understand why this is fixed and why you should always use whole sign house systems. I'm also a traditional astrologer, so I will be making a future video on traditional astrology and modern astrology and their differences, and why traditional astrology is mainly the one to focus on. But still, not to negate everything about modern astrology. It's just that modern astrology is used to kind of rope you in or be commercial, like, your sun sign. Your sun sign is just because they can easily track the month you were born, the day you were born, and say, you're this sun sign. Whereas you don't have to have birth time and other information. It's for commercial purposes. Just kind of like what I think about the midheaven and the nadir axis, which is the medium cole or the Imen cole. Which, hold on, I'm going to hold off on that for a second. So in the sidereal astrology, I adhere to using the equal degree house system. The equal house system. It's based on the degree. So, for example, in this system, I have 21 degrees Cancer as my first house for my ascendant. So then what's going to follow suit is going to be Leo 21 degrees as a second house, Virgo 21 degrees as a third house, and so on. So then signs and houses then can overlap in this system because we're looking at the constellations. We're looking at how we see the constellations, how they fall, where they stand with sidereal astrology, where the slippage is away from the spiritual source here, how we're moving, and how we're being influenced. Again, I apologize if you hear my kids and playing with the dog. Just ignore that. Um, so the equal degree system, I find, I mean, I guess you could use a Placidus system, but I don't recommend it. The equal house is more simple, and I find it to be a little bit more accurate predictively. But sometimes, when we look at a natal chart and we see a Placidus system or another house system and not whole sign, it still makes sense because it's usually still not too far off from how it aligns in the chart, but also it makes sense based on sidereal astrology in a predictive way, which still can also be used in a personality way. It's just more for predictive purposes. So it's that's why it still kind of any house system still kind of makes sense. You still can make sense out of it. But the proper way to really make it understandable is discerning the differences between tropical astrology and sidereal astrology. So going back to the midheaven or the MC-IC axis, it is a floating point. It's a floating point. They do, like the MC does represent the 10th house. The IC does represent the 4th house. But what's important to know is that it's a floating point, meaning that the MC separates the native from society as an individual. So it's the 10th house in your chart is just the house of your career, and it's your house of, it has reputation and all the other 10th house things, but it's more of just you as another number in society, in your career, and what the vibration of the career that you're under and the public life and so on. This is actually separating you from society, from the career as the individual. Whereas the IC, or the Imam Kali, or some call it the Nader, or Kolea, it's actually Imam Kole, separates the individual from the family tree. So it's not just your home and family environment that you're sitting in. This is actually your specific family role. What separates you from the family tree as an individual. But it is representative of the 4th house. So a lot of times people have their MC-IC axis in the 9th house or 3rd house, or even 11th house and 5th house. That does happen often in people's charts. Normally, more often they are in the 4th house and 10th house, but it'd be a different degree because it's floating. But when you have it in the 9th or 3rd house, or 11th or 5th house, you'll see that that house just kind of does double duty a little bit, because it represents the house that they're in, whole sign house system, and the actual separation of the 10th house, 4th house matters as an individual. That's why they're very important. So yeah, just understand that the equal degree house system is always the same degree from the start of the ascendant or 1st house. And the whole sign house system over here in tropical is always going to be from 0 to 29 degrees, or the full 30 degrees, where sign and house and nature is perfect, in perfect order. There's a perfect system. And that is you and the human body and its natural design. And this is how your governor of personality is. Sidereal astrology shows us what we're doing with it and what frequency is coming into our life, how we're reacting to it, how we're being influenced and affected by it, and the procession of slippage of 4 minutes every day from the last age of Aries, which was a couple thousands of years ago. We're about 23.5 degrees off these systems. So you're not. If someone says, I'm a Capricorn because, sidereal astrology says so. No, today is actually my birthday. I'm an Aquarius, tropically, but the sun is in Capricorn sidereally. They're two different things for two different reasons, like I've explained here. We need to understand that, okay? And what's most important in this system, in the sidereal system, is the moon. The moon sign is the main sign in sidereal or Vedic, whatever you want to call it, Vedic system, Hindu culture. Because that's where it's most widely used. The moon sign is the main source of energy in the sidereal system. And the sun is the main source of energy in the tropical system, but the sun is actually the main source of all the energy, which is, like I said, we refer back to focusing on knowing thyself first and foremost. We are the cause. So everything will come more naturally when we understand what it is that we are influenced by and being affected as, So that's that's what is the differences between systems. There shouldn't be a clash of what system to use and what's better and what's wrong and what's right. It's just knowing the differences. Tropical and sidereal are two different systems for different functions, and this is the proper way that we need to understand it. And like I said, they've kind of fused this house system to be this house system, and other house systems to be this house system. Because Vedic uses whole sign house system when they should be using equal, because you're looking at the stars and the way they align. There's no specific order with sidereal astrology. There's order with tropical astrology. And like I said with the Forrest Gump analogy, is there a destiny, or is there, are we just floating on a breeze? But it's actually both. We choose. We choose whether or not to see our destinies that are given to us in our personality, in our spirit, in our living spirit, and our bodies. And what we experience through our life often comes through the sidereal astrology. But, like I said, you can use them for both. It's just that one has more of a function over the other. One is more for personality, one is more for particular. Because obviously, if you are reacting and being influenced by sidereal astrology, it can get into your head, be your personality, and you can be living out something that you're not. Which does happen with people. Like I said, people respond to their environment more than themselves, or we somehow allow culture to we kind of make culture more important than our nature. We kind of respond more to that. And my argument is with nurture and nature. I don't think it's a matter of nurture and nature. I think it's a matter of culture and nature. I think nurture is what's in the middle. Are we being nurtured more through culture, or are we being nurtured more through nature? That's more of the question. I think it's a matter of culture and nature, especially in today's world. Nurture is just the middle ground between culture and nature. It shouldn't be nurture and nature. I mean, at least that makes sense to me. That's my opinion. Anyway, I hope for those of you who do understand what I'm talking about here have learned the differences and know how the different functions of these astrological frameworks work. I will be doing more videos. This is my first video here on my channel, The Astrologini. If you guys want a natal chart, please reach out to me at kccosmo9@gmail.com if you want a natal chart, or if you want to know your transits, or if you want me to try to maybe even fuse some differences between tropical and sidereal astrology. I will be glad to help you. I will let you know what my charging services are with that. But if you guys are interested, please do so. And if you like this video, smash the like video, or the like button, and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this one. I will be back with more to come. Thank you.